you want me to go ahead and share my screen?
Yes,
Started?
maybe do that, Ben. Yes, I think that's the best thing. Workshop is about lunar underground habitat parameters anyway.
All right, so thanks everybody for sticking around. This workshop is going to be about lunar underground settlement parameters. So basically, what do we need to figure out to make a sustainable underground lunar settlement, right? So I've started a list. This is just a general list, kind of get the ideas flowing. There's different categories of parameters and then parameters within those categories. So feel free to add to recommend changes to, whatever. We're trying to keep it underground because that removes theoretically some of the challenges that the surface presents. Plus, realistically, settlements are probably going to either be underground or buried under regolith at some point. And we could throw in lava tubes if you want to throw in stuff for lava tubes too. So I'm opening it up. Any ideas, comments, suggestions?
I think putting in lava tubes on the location parameters, it is a potential.
Sure. Sure. We need to map the skylights. We need to actually, ground truth some of this stuff. We've never, ground truthed any of it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Ulf, don't worry raising your hand. Just jump in.
Okay. A practical thing concerning food production of agriculture is to choose between having piped solar light or artificial lighting, because plants needs light anyway. That is a sort of decision one has to make.
Yeah, no, you're right. We need to figure out, is it better to pipe in light or figure out how to do grow chambers? Both have problems, right? And so, yeah, we got to not only figure out what's better to do, but like, how are we going to manufacture that equipment using lunar material? Otherwise, we're having to import all that stuff from Earth, and then we got the cost and the vulnerability.
That gets into a question of whether you should separate certain aspects. It's likely that you wouldn't have your power supply underground. That might also lead to saying, okay, maybe we should be growing food on the surface, but be living underground.
Sure. I mean, the thing with growing food on the moon, right, is you got a 14-day night span, right? So at some point you are using artificial light to keep your crops alive.
Not if you're at the poles.
Well, that's true, and that's part of, location, right? If you're at the poles, maybe you can get away with it, but if you're not at the poles and you're not at those peaks of eternal light, then you are going dark at some point.
Yeah, but that also gets into the question of maybe having that all your farms are at the poles, but maybe all the work is at the equator. And so that means a transportation system between the two.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that is definitely a possibility that you would want to, explore. But I think having your agricultural production areas widely separated from the rest of your stuff kind of introduces a vulnerability.
But it could be an idea to have those greenhouses on the surface, because plants survive radiation much better than humans do. And besides, modern greenhouses both utilize natural sunlight and have artificial lighting anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think there are two questions being raised recently. One is day-night cycle. How do we handle that? And that could be that you have daylight on the day and artificial light on the night. And the other is how big, how sprawling should it could be that part of a lunar settlement would be near one resource and another part near another resource. doesn't have to be as far as between the poles and the equator, but it could be a bit away. So maybe we have a greenhouse at the pole, which seems counterintuitive, but it's probably the right thing to do.
Well, it could be. I mean, it also depends on how much energy you got to use, right? If you've got an abundance of energy, then artificial lighting makes a lot more sense. If you're really energy constrained, then you're going to have to do something clever with your agriculture, right? Like during the day, pipe in light, during the night, have just basic amount of light to keep everything alive but not growing much.
Yep.
I can't find it, but I think I once remember seeing a paper where somebody did do testing, and there are at least some plants that can stand being dormant for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I
Not
agree.
sure production, but
I don't think there's anything that's traditionally crop oriented, food production oriented that can do that though. But I have seen stuff that does suggest that.
well, nobody's ever cared about it.
I would say we don't know, because if some crops could survive 2 weeks, why would you do that?
True.
Better to keep them growing.
It's certainly something that can be
But
tested on.
actually, Eric Drexler, the nanotech guy, actually made an experiment and growing some food stuff for 2 weeks in the sun, and then he put them in darkness in the fridge for a fortnight, and the plants survived. At least that's what he says.
Yeah, if you're using the plants for your oxygen scrubber, putting them into even a low energy level for 2 weeks gives you another complication.
Yes.
Frank?
With the nuclear reactors.
Go ahead, Frank. Just jump in.
Yeah, I think what you could also explore if you're trying to have biomass generation throughout the lunar night is using short cycle plants like microgreens for the daytime, and then you feed those to rabbits and the stack of mushrooms. That would be pretty interesting to see if animals can be used to mitigate the effects of lunar night for.
It's a good idea.
Good stuff.
But that also depends on the role of plants in the habitat. If you have plants for, let's say, oxygen production, as a friend just said, or if you have plants like in a small park or anything like that, you don't want them to die after 14 days.
I suspect there's going to be a reality related to lunar exploitation, is that the regolith contains a lot of oxygen, and it'll probably end up being as a byproduct of many of the processes. So, I mean, ideally, you'd want to have everything like bioremediated because it's an order of magnitude more efficient. But you can always rely on industrial byproducts for filling a lot of ecological niches. Surprisingly.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, I mean you're right. We're going to have a lot of oxygen if we're doing any kind of mining and refining. The trick is to scrub out recycle the nitrogen and the carbon. You don't need the oxygen so much. You need to get those organics back.
Yeah, you lose a little bit of these every time you cycle your airlock. So I've been trying to find ways to minimize this, and the only thing I could come up with is that basically you fill the airlock with excavated regolith every time you go out, so as to minimize the volume of space that the volume of air that you're cycling.
One of the things that I thought of for that was you do a 2-purge system, right? You purge it of your breathable gas, replacing it with oxygen, and then you purge again, and then whatever is lost is mostly oxygen at that point. And since we got so much oxygen anyway, so what if you lose some? In fact, we may get to the point where we can't store all the oxygen we produce, and we are venting it deliberately.
We could probably explore ways to maybe store it either in solid fuel type of setups, because aluminum powders and I think sodium peroxide or something would be a way to make rocket fuel on site with the lunar regolith and use it to ship stuff. I mean, the way I see it is that you'd be using a mass driver to like kick this like to apoapsis, and then you use like two sets of solids to spin up, stabilize, and basically circularize the orbit. And use this to like bring up like a whole bunch of solids that you can use to like deorbit stuff, so that you don't have to lithobrake as hard. It would be helpful for like asteroid mining. Anyways, just shooting.
No, that's true. That's research that needs to be done. Is like, you know, can we make rockets that use purely lunar material?
There has been experiment with the solid aluminium liquid oxygen rockets. It works.
Yeah, not a lot of experiments.
I've been trying to like get the liquid oxygen out of the stack, but I think I still need to like iron out the formula, because it seems to not store too well on long term.
Well, we're off topic about rockets, but anyway, yeah, that's a use. The problem, you know, Andrew mentions that manufacturing storage systems to store excess materials will be essential, and that's true. But you got to remember, storage systems take resources, they take time and, you know, energy to make. You need volume for them, so it's not like you can make unlimited storage. At some point, you're going to run out of storage and not want to put the resources in to make more.
And you only want to keep resources if there's a demand for those resources. If you're generating something like 50 times more oxygen than you need for industrial processes and for life support, there's no need to keep the other 49 parts.
Yep. No, exactly. You'll just vent it at that point. It's waste at that point.
You can always form metal oxides.
Well, you may need that oxygen, though, if you're going to do a complete sewage recycling.
Sure.
Most of the systems now have not considered complete nutrient. Maybe they've done urine recovery, but some of that oxygen may be needed when you do a more complete recycle.
Yeah, and it would be wise to hang on to some of whatever excess material that you're producing. And ideally, they'll be doing that, but they won't be hanging on to everything that they produce, especially if it's in gigantic quantities.
The challenge is to find a use for waste products.
Into using it for something that that is kind of wasteful, but it's some use, so you get rid of it by using it for something cheap and dirty.
Yeah,
well, I mean, that's true, but the thing is that all of those things take time, energy, resources. So is it worth it to try to use it for something that's suboptimal, or is it a better use just to not bother with it? Because everything takes time and energy and resources, even if you're storing it suboptimally.
But you don't need to store it, actually. Why don't you export liquid oxygen?
It's very valuable to lunar orbit.
To Earth orbit as sort of gas station for.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be great. But if you're exporting it, you have to have storage tanks for it. You have to have energy to cool it down to liquid oxygen and keep it. You have to have people that are willing to transport it. So you're assuming that there is some kind of transportation infrastructure that's going to use this oxygen. So yeah, that's all great to have. But let's say you produce, 100 tons of oxygen. You only have, people only want 50 tons. You're still getting off topic here again. But yeah, one of the parameters is
there again, you're depending on people importing food. If you're going to have a complete system, you shouldn't have any elements that are in such vast excess.
Oh, maybe, but one of the things Nicholas and I talk about a lot is that the way we see it, all lunar settlements are going to be mines, right? Because you're going to be extracting resources out of that. You'll want iron, you'll want titanium, you'll want aluminum, whatever else you can get. And since they're all bound up in oxides,
why would we want those metals though if we don't have the people to use them?
Well, you would probably use them to expand your habitat and your settlement, right? instead of
If
bringing
I'm one
stuff in
person,
from
do I
Earth.
want 100,000 square feet? And so you have to keep that into balance. In the one thing too you want to look for is something that you can export to the Earth that might be of use, so that you can get something more from the Earth, and that might actually be people.
Yeah, that's you're true. That's true. We do need to figure out how to make an economic balance as well. I'm not sure there's much from everything I've seen, there's not much on the moon at this moment that we can physically export back that would make it worthwhile unless we had a pretty economic transportation system already set up that really reduces the transportation costs.
Well,
I think
that's really critical, because you want to create a transportation system utilizing lunar resources to lower the cost of bringing anything from Earth.
right. But the problem is historically we haven't built the railroads into frontiers. We've used them to connect cities. We've used them to connect settlements. So it's kind of a chicken and the egg, right? We need an efficient transportation system to make this work. We can't afford an efficient transportation system unless we have a reason for an efficient transportation system. So if we had settlements already in place, building out the efficient transportation system makes more sense than trying to build the transportation system first.
Well, we need a settlement first in order to say build produce the propellants to support a transportation system, a lunar transportation system between the moon and the Earth.
I think we're trying to solve the problem here. And I think it's probably better to go into looking more on the parameters as in the heading of the presentation.
Yeah. You really have to find.
Let's write this up as we need to look at the import export. What can be exported? What would be a waste? Can we sell it? It is a parameter to study, but let's not solve the problem here.
How about this, you guys? We make rockets on the lunar surface using in situ aluminum for the casing, which we can then turn into like similar wet lab workshops, kind of like what they did for Skylab. And we use aluminum powders and liquid oxygen like Nicholas proposed. And this way we could send material from the lunar surface into cislunar space, where it could be a lot more valuable, not only for the remaining oxygen, but also for the casing itself.
You're saying we should build rockets on the moon?
That's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I agree with that. Absolutely.
And this would be the low-hanging fruit in terms of complexity.
It's a lot easier to do astronomy and takeoffs and landings on the moon than it is on Earth, because you don't have an atmosphere to contend with, and you've only got 1/6 the gravity.
Well, see, and that would be another parameter we can add on, scientific research parameter. Like, where would astronomy be a good location to? That would be a good location parameter for settlements. Astronomy.
Good. I agree with that. Good.
Far side.
Yeah,
far side would be good for some.
Yeah.
Near side would be good
radio
for
astronomy.
Where's that, man?
So do we have it captured that we need a transportation system from moon to Earth, and also intermoon, right? Intramoon, right? Between points on the moon, we also need a transportation system.
Right. I guess you'd also do that by rockets, I guess, but lower power rockets. I don't know. I'm just saying.
I don't agree with the rocket idea, but whatever we do, we do.
Oh, maybe like a train. You're saying like by a subway system or a train system.
As Nicholas said, we're not trying to solve the problem. We just want to capture what we need.
Good. Okay, I agree. I'm getting down.
Yeah, there's all kinds of ideas for intra-settlement transportation.
Right, but that's just another issue. No, good.
But we need it, yeah. So another
one important parameter for the settlement would be how big is it, or how many settlements are there, so that will drive the communication need between them. And are they different? So are they in different areas that have different resources?
Right, and are they transporting bulk resources or refined resources? Because if you're transporting bulk, like ore or something, that's a different type of transportation than you need for something more fragile, like people.
But basically, we want to colonize the entire moon, that's for sure.
Then you
Yeah.
want to have a rail network, and then a hubs that basically act as your organizing points. So if
Right.
there's a rail network that leads to each mine, and then you have a centralized refinery, you can have everything processing in one place where all the colonist needs can be supported, and then you have mining nodes scattered throughout the planet.
But not just mines. I mean, human settlements too. I mean,
Right. And see, like
Boomtown.
Nicholas and I are concerned with self-supporting or self-reliant settlements, right?
Okay,
So
good.
I don't think Nicholas and I would want a central point.
Well, you want to have one central point.
How are these settlements to be funded?
I think the shape of the colonization as such is a parameter. Having a central
how many points do you want?
I mean, you do want a central point, Ben. You want the ground zero to be central.
If we weren't going to have one central point, then how many points would we have?
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
maybe 8.
I mean, personally, I think that every settlement should be able to take care of its own basic needs.
No, that's too low level there.
But it's gonna require a scaled measure to do that, because you're gonna have to reproduce the industrial base at each location. So having one that can act as the hub that can enable that for the rest of the planet, so that you can have one landing site that basically you unpack everything there. And then from
I think this is an important point to take down, but we are now arguing the problem, and it's trying to solve it in different ways. Briar Frisk has been raising his hand quietly for quite a while. I think he might have something interesting to bring up. Briar?
Thank you. For terms of safety, with the lava tubes and whatnot, I'm not familiar with them, whether they go more horizontal or deep, but for terms of safety, would it be better to keep like the communities and the residential near the surface in case they need to be retrieved in case of partial collapse, rather than have, like a really deep tube of a colony and then collapse, and then you have like 500 people trapped half a mile below the surface? Or how would, for safety reasons, how would,
that's a good question. Incidentally, let's get rid of the screen sharing.
What?
Does everybody want the screen sharing gone, or do they find it useful to have it as an idea?
I think it's why get rid of it? What's the reason?
Well, make our images bigger. Make the images bigger.
For big ideas, I think this one is in options in the display settings. Although I might, there's
the coordinator can do that. The originator.
Oh, there should be a way for you to do it too. I think you can go to the meeting window instead of Ben Smith's screen, and then you'll be able to see everyone.
Oh,
if you hover over,
you can drag. Wait, let me share my screen.
Well, I don't know if you can until I stop sharing.
I see meeting info. I see meeting info.
Damn it. It's not working.
All right. I'm sorry. Okay, it's not that important.
Anyway, Matt brought up a good point that maybe we should break the discussion into frontier development and mature development, but I think is a good idea, because
wait a minute. Before we do that, I want to raise this idea. This is sort of like an elephant in the room. Well, let me just put the idea out. I mean, China, we're going to be in an international competition with China. So, I mean, that's just the way it's going to be, for better or for worse. And I think we need to address how we're going to handle that. And allegiances can vary. Allegiances can vary. Just because most of us are from the West doesn't mean we would have to be, that we couldn't see the bigger picture.
So the Artemis Accords are 55 countries that are working towards economic space development. My presentation tomorrow will cover a kind of a framework that we could use to rebuild the industrial tech tree. And if we had companies from those 55 countries competing to build that tree, then theoretically we could build it in one colony and create a model that can be
Is China any one of those 55
China
countries?
is in a competing organization called the International Space Research.
So, I mean, it's sort of like the European Union against China, or the West against China. I mean, the point is 55, that's not, it's East against West. Now, choose which side you want to go on, but that's something we need to deal with before. Can we split the moon into spheres of influence? If not, then we have to have war. I mean, there's a place for war. I'm not advocating it, but I'm saying that's part of human history. I would be very surprised if we go too far with this without there being armed conflict, either on the moon or on Earth, and the moon becomes a spoil of war. I mean, there are many examples in the colonization of the Western Hemisphere, like Britain and Spain and England and the Netherlands would fight in one place, like would fight in Europe, and then say, okay, now that you've lost, we want this colony from you in South in in the Pacific.
Politics, take it up as one point, but don't go into details of politics, please. There are three people raising their hands here. I missed which order.
James was first.
Okay. Basically, in order to establish a colony, somebody has to pay for it. And so we have to basically determine, why is this colony being established? Why is this organization paying for this? And to me, I've always believed that colonies will be established for a commercial reason. And so the first thing that comes up is, how are we going to make money on the moon?
Okay. Chris?
Under the location parameters, I wonder if you wanted to expand that for some specific exploration. It seems like for a lot of these questions about what sort of structures to build and so on, it would be really useful to have explored one of the lava tubes, see what they really like structurally. Two, someone specifically mentioned we haven't gone into a crater. It'd be very useful to go there, see what's there for the idea of putting structures in there. And also three, you might learn some of this from going to the crater, but just get the profile of how you move from regolith down to solid rock, how far that goes, what sort of structure, what you'd run into if you were tunneling, say at 15 meters in different areas. Get some hard data on that is one of the first things we need, so we can make good decisions about where we can build stuff, what sort of structures will work, and so on.
Oh yeah,
actually push for the exploration.
Yep, totally agree. Thank you, Frank.
Yes, I think one of the ways that we can avoid the escalation of conflict on the moon would be to expand the range of gamified conflicts, would I say? Like, I'm thinking Lunar Olympics, it's the only thing that can come up to my mind at the moment, but like some sort of initiative that would favor playful competition might help like the mitigation of outright violent outcomes. I'm also thinking of, the spite matches between North and South Korea. Like
in the real world, things ultimately come down to
yeah. I mean, that's true.
I'm not
at the same time,
advocating
there's been Apollo Soyuz not too long ago. That's been like an example of competition but cooperation, and space also been a playtest bed for a lot of these concepts also.
There could be like a robotics space Olympics where different countries can compete against each other in peaceful robotics competitions.
If we're going to use like robot mercenaries, might as well have robot Olympics. This way it'll be like a show of force to tell people not to mess with our robots, because we're probably going to be able to shoot your robots better than you can do it.
Oh, okay. Good idea. Ulf?
I wonder about thermal management. Is that a non-issue in lava tubes, or is the temperature constant or not in lava tubes?
It should be constant.
Well, but here's one of my things with lava tubes that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about. They have been stable for a very long time, but if you put human activity into them, You're going to change the temperature profile inside them now. You're going to change the gas profile inside them, vibration profile. They may be less stable than they were originally if you put human activity into them. So, yeah, I think that they're temperature constant right now, but if we start doing stuff in them, they won't be.
I think they will stay temperature constant. Whether they are structurally safe is a completely different story, though. And yeah, we would have to stabilize that.
In that case, I think structure stability should be a parameter.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. If you're going to be in a lava tube, you need to figure out the geotechnics of that lava tube.
Yeah, and that's one of the presentations yesterday was about we need to do that even if we're building on the surface because there might be landslides.
Yeah, sinkholes that they'll turn into the new spotlights.
Yep. Stuart?
Yeah, so along those lines, the pressure, the internal air pressure is going to put a big strain on that's going to be a big change to those lava tubes. But also I wanted to, for the habitat pressure hull, that it seems a little specific. I think really the issue is how do you maintain pressure, because you could do that in a variety of ways. Like you could put something into the rock, or maybe you don't need anything. Maybe the rock will maintain the pressure by itself.
Well, the habitat pressure hull construction was actually something that I've been working on using lunar iron. So, what is your habitat pressure hull? Not saying, if you're making your lava tube your pressure hull, that's a whole nother issue. But if you're importing it from Earth or building it from lunar resources, you got to figure out how you're going to make it.
Right, but I'm saying it may just be maybe all you need to do is seal the rock versus making a separate hull.
Maybe. We don't know enough about.
I think you tend to need to reinforce mine shafts or mine tunnels in order for them not to fall in. I think that holds on the moon as well, even though it's lower gravity. On the other hand, I do think that actually pressurizing the tube would stabilize it to some extent.
Right, it might stabilize it. It also might unstabilize it, depending on how close it is to the surface.
Yeah, well, you had the calculation on that, 25 meters.
Yeah, 25 meters, right, then that's what you need. And that brings up another thing, which is the maintaining the internal pressure, right? So in the case of some kind of a pressure leak, it's much better to have the internal pressure stay the same. Like that was one of the things I came up with in my design, is having that floating roof means the pressure stays the same even if you get a leak. The volume changes. But you could do the same thing in a lava tube. But maintaining internal pressure in the case of some kind of a breach or a leak is important.
You could use an expanding foam, like something you would use to kind of seal cracks, but you could use that perhaps as a structural aid. To kind of seal the outside of the lava tube, so that way it's sealed with a foam that might absorb some heat and retain some energy that way.
Okay. Ulf?
All habitats will produce wastewater. I think wastewater deserves its own resource parameter. It says waste recycling, but waste to me is solid waste. Wastewater should be included as a resource parameter.
I mean, waste could be, but yes, water definitely would be a resource.
I
waste
agree.
can be any kind of waste.
I agree. Wastewater and waste. Wastewater, biological waste, and industrial waste should be more. You can make it finer, but I think those three are important.
Thermal waste. There's all kinds of waste products that we're going to produce, and being able to capture them and recycle them would be ideal, but we at least need to capture them and get rid of them at some point.
Yeah.
Briar?
Yeah, in these tunnels and systems, and I don't know if mining they've had encounters with this, is there going to be any problems with like the air hammer or water hammer effect in the tunnels to where if air is moving, someone shuts the door real quick, it would create like a back pressure that would blow things apart, or is that a...
Who knows, right? I mean, quite frankly, we don't have any information on these lava tubes, right? We've never ground truthed any of it. We're not even sure of their real parameters. So yeah, I mean, that could be in a small lava tube, that could be an issue.
All right, thank you.
I imagine in a large volume of space, that probably wouldn't have as much of an effect, but small one definitely. James?
Yeah, just wanted to comment about reference to the lava tubes and pressurization. There are mine shafts here on the Earth that have been sealed and pressurized. They're used for power generation. So the mine shaft is given a very high air pressure, and then that air pressure is released to drive a turbine.
Okay.
Excellent.
So
Excellent. That's
use them
great.
as energy production?
Well, I'm thinking, yeah, that's done here on the Earth, but that gives you some idea of can a lava tube hold pressure? That may help in that regards. That expertise in that area has already been done.
Sure. I mean, until we go into a lava tube, though, and see what the geotechnics are on it, who knows, right? They could be riddled with cracks for all we know, and not a nice, smooth, contiguous surface. So, yeah, I mean, lava tubes are great, but like the poles and extracting volatiles, we know almost nothing. So, lots of great ideas, but until we actually ground truth some of this stuff,
I think the general understanding about moon bedrock is that it's quite fissured and quite deep as well, and that will hold whether there are a lava tube or not.
Yeah. From what I've read and my understanding of it is, you got to go down a couple of kilometers before you start getting into really solid bedrock, because everything above that has been impact shattered over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So even the megaregolith is
But
broken
you
up.
could maybe use foam concrete that you do on Earth to seal tunnels in the mountains from water impact, and something similar could be done in lava tube, even if they are fissures.
You could. I've seen ideas where you just keep the temperature in the lava tube really cold and you use ice to seal up the cracks. I mean, there's all kinds of ideas. Like I said, until we're actually in that environment and we can actually get some real data, they're all just ideas.
I think there are cheaper materials than ice to seal a lava tube with as well. We don't want to push the water out that way.
Yeah, no, I agree. You don't want to lose the hydrogen, but I'm just saying there's all kinds of ideas for sealing cracks.
Yes.
You just don't know. Oh, Frank?
Yeah, there are bio-derived epoxies that could be also explored. I think these are one of the materials that could be scaled for the deeper parts of the tunnel. For anything that's like close to surface application, you could probably import something like Linex or the bomb-proofing sprays.
Yep.
All kinds of checking out if you got a chance.
There's certain chemicals that can be manufactured from certain plants as well, so that if we could produce them in situ, then we could continuously produce, a certain amount per month, and they could continue to paint the walls with the polymers.
Okay, another good idea. Stuart?
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that we captured like the idea that James suggested about air pressure in caves on Earth. I think it's very important to see, in general, to find analogs to like lava tubes or the environments as much as possible on Earth, and we can learn a lot from them. So I think that's extremely important. But another important thing is to we have to think differently about the moon. A lot of our thinking is based on like Earth kinds of ideas. The fact that there's a vacuum there and the fact that there's a 6G that should be a creativity input for thinking about when we're looking for solutions for these problems. We should make sure that we don't just keep ourselves constrained to Earth-based ideas.
Nope, completely agree. Rita?
So is there a helium-3 or something that is abundant on the moon that there's really a market for that's going to make it cost effective?
Yeah, the helium-3 thing. I mean, others may know
I
more.
don't know what you do with helium-3. What do you do with helium-3?
Oh, it's used in a bunch of industrial applications here on Earth. And
Something about a
theoretically,
power production system that's going to
uh,
produce electrical
Nuclear
power?
fusion, yes.
nuclear fusion.
Always 50 years away.
Yeah. Yeah. Theoretically, you would use helium-3 for nuclear fusion. But it's not abundant. It's implanted by the solar wind into the top layer of the regolith. There's not a lot of it, and you have to process a massive amount of regolith to extract usable amounts of helium-3, which would be a huge project on Earth, let alone doing it on the moon. And I've read some stuff where if the cost of helium-3 goes up enough on Earth, they will just find a substitute gas to do those industrial processes. So it's not like, oh no, we're running out of helium-3 on Earth. We have to go to the moon to go mine it. We'll just figure out a different gas to use. And it may be less effective, but it'll be a lot cheaper than going to the moon to mine it.
Yeah, I don't think any of what we use helium-3 for now is gonna make it. But the only reason to use helium-3 from the moon it is if fusion using helium-3 becomes works to start with and gets economically viable. But there is more energy in helium-3 on the moon than we have used on Earth so far.
Yeah, it's much more abundant on the moon. That's the issue. There's very little helium-3 on Earth. There's way more on the moon.
Yeah, we just don't need we just don't need that much. I mean, if we get fusion going, then maybe that's an economic option for the moon. But again, you have to process a lot of regolith and top layer regolith. I mean, you're not going deep on this. So you're taking up huge tracts of territory on the moon to mine, which I've always said, once you start changing the appearance of the moon, because you're strip mining huge areas of it, people will take notice.
Yeah, there
I
are
don't think
two
we should
raised hands here.
Yeah.
Marufa?
Yes, impressing ideas. I love listening. So one example would be we had world's biggest analog WBA in last 1 year. So the initial idea was, what if we develop a colony on the moon and we need the biggest analog astronauts to train on Earth? And I was one of the participants, and I realized we've been training for a year virtually and more than 100 participants. But one thing I realized, like when you were in the training, like nationality, regardless of nationality, like who's from China or Brazil, doesn't really matter because you work in a harmony in a crew. But also at the same time, I had like several analog astronaut experience, like in the mission. We are kind of like biased towards our nationality, our culture, language. Consciously or unconsciously, we are biased. Even though we try, we learn. Of course, we love other cultures and differences. We appreciate those things. But so I think when we set up on the moon, colony on the moon, I think it really depends who are the astronauts going there, who's funding the mission, who's landing. Is it Indian crew member or is it Japanese or American? So overall, but at the end, I think we came in peace and harmony. These are the main morality would be important because technologies are there already. We see so many science fiction movies nowadays and all the simulation experiences. I think it's coming true. So I think basically in a positive mindset and through conflict, these are mitigating those things would be
Yes.
important. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Marufa.
Mhm.
Stanley?
I just a quick question. Did I have somebody say that you could power your own flight on the moon?
I'm sorry,
I'll
you
let
could
this
power
go.
what?
Your own flight. In other words, I get like you could
Oh,
get build big
yeah, you
wings.
could you fly with wings? You
Right.
know, I have seen stuff about that. I don't know. I think you'd have to be pretty athletic, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Okay. I thought I heard somebody say that. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Thank you.
Margaret?
Yeah, hi. I've just been listening to it for about, a half hour. And, I'm from Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
And I had a career here. I was born here, so I've kind of got the politics thing in my head. I'm concerned, and I realize that the reasons for settlement have changed recently to more commercial reasons. But I am really wondering kind of where the geopolitical context is. I mean, there are, forces at work that are going to potentially make some of the settlement activities you're talking about dangerous or impossible. So I wonder if it's realistic not to consider, safety. We have, nations in the world now that have um, said their goal is to take over the moon.
Mhm.
So I don't know whether we should ignore it, is what I'm saying.
I think you're absolutely right. We should put a political parameter in for
Yeah.
it because I mean, you're right. We live in a dangerous universe, right?
We do.
And it's not unreasonable to think that if you have a settlement, somebody might want to try to take what you have. So settlement should have some kind of security. So that should definitely be part of the parameters. I agree.
Well, why wouldn't? Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you want to take over the moon? The United States naturally wants to take over the moon.
Well, it's
No, I
a
mean,
pretty large place.
astronauts that get killed in the process of exploring space have become heroes. I think that you're forgetting the national pride, the whole idea of we're going to show Russia, or Russia's going to show us, or Japan is going to show that they're among the big players because they've been able to do something that the US and the Russians haven't been able to do. I think that most of the space exploration has been politically funded to date and will continue to be politically funded as long as that's a high prestige and shows that our technology is better than your technology.
Right. And
Let's
that's
hope it
what they
stays at that level. Point of order, though. And anybody who wants to be in the summary document of this needs to write their name in the chat so we know who you are.
Andrew?
Yeah, I was going to say, in space, it represents the final frontier. So we might need a frontier type mentality. And in that sense, privateers operate on behalf of the colonies as private security in that kind of capacity, because you might not have the military capacity to police all of space, but local colonies could exert that authority to certain citizens to act as their kind of privateer force, to act as a kind of frontier justice force if the need for it arises. You could have bounties that could be set, and people could then be empowered, kind of like a sheriff would empower people with local power, to have the authority to correct issues if needed. That could be one way that you could address those kinds of things.
Oh, yeah. Figuring out the political, social structure of these settlements is a whole different issue,
A whole
right?
different thing, yeah.
Right, but
There is going to be
protecting them against other factions. Given that the Artemis Accords is 55 different countries that are working together, having a cohesive plan that kind of provides a framework for that could be something that all those countries could kind of align on. And if there's no framework, then that void could be filled by potential ideas such as this.
I am all for the Artemis Accords. I mean, it's great. Like you're right, they're 53 now, and we've got people, in the State Department negotiating new signatories all the time. My issue, or not my issue, I just wanted to mention that there is going to be an area where we will have something of a police force of some type, and that's cislunar space. We're going to have all these orbitals up there taking the place of the ISS. And, things are going to happen in cislunar space.
Well, so that makes for political rivalry, for geopolitical rivalry.
Yeah,
Potential-
I mean, this
potential
first,
warfare.
I went to this meeting a couple years ago, and I was surprised to hear the first shot has already been fired. I said, "What?" I didn't know about any shot that.
Yeah, and
had
I
been
forgot
fired.
about that. I forget what that is, but yeah, I've heard that.
It was the Israelis, for God's sake. My name is Margaret Boone Rappaport is my husband's name. I'm not Jewish. But anyway, it was the Israelis that wanted to, I can't, get somebody away from one of their satellites. So the shot has already been fired. The first shot in the space. But I mean, I'm not trying to be a warmonger. I'm just saying, we're not going to have a police force up there.
Right. I'm not being a warmonger either. I'm just saying I'm being realistic.
Well, yeah.
I'm concerned because
I think a lot of astronomers would like to remove a lot of the satellites.
Well, they have their own agenda. But
There's a cosmic privateering service waiting to happen, right? Just hire the satellite with an arm and.
Well, I thought we had
actually targeted removal.
Governance.
Targeted removal is growing. They're developing ways to do that.
Well, you have to, because we're accumulating an awful lot of stuff.
You know who's leading the efforts for space debris removal really is ESA. It's not NASA. ESA has got the structure in place. They've got a committee and a head, and a
Are you talking about
process
the European
of
Space
discussing
Agency?
it. So anyway,
Sorry. Are you talking about the European Space Agency?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
they have a structure in place already.
Let's circle back to the topic. Andrew, did you have something else you wanted to say, or?
Please rehash where we were before, because we continued on to a different topic.
Oh, your hand was still up, so I'll go to.
Sorry, I didn't look, Laura. Never mind.
My turn. So on the political side, like we talked about yesterday, though, is we want to try to avoid taking Earth-based political conflicts into space. So I think that there may be a need for that, but we should also keep the door open to avoiding I got a big gun, and so the next guy's got to get a bigger gun, right? So we don't want to start that cycle if we can avoid it. And so that should be part of the Earth-based political discussion, is in terms of how to deal with it, is how to avoid it as well.
But doesn't that only work if everybody's playing by the same set of rules? I mean, if we're saying we don't want to develop a bigger gun, but China's developing a bigger gun, then aren't we pretty much forced to develop a bigger gun at that point?
Well, but you don't want to be the one who instigates that, right? You don't want to set up a big defense force so that China has to set up a big defense force to counter yours.
But do you
want it might be possible to negotiate a non-Earth-based solution first, so that nobody develops the big gun first, right? That's what I'm saying. Is it may be possible.
There are already forces saying that they are going to try to take over the moon. They're really
sure. Yeah. Okay. But we can try. But that should be part of what we do, is to try to defuse that situation.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
Andrew?
I think that part of the problem is that as long as it's a matter of the Chinese sending something to explore the far side of the moon, they're not claiming that they own that part of the moon. But when you're talking about establishing bases and you're going to take over certain territory and you're going to potentially mine that, then you are saying, I own that section of the moon.
Yeah, well, Artemis Accords allow for ownership of the moon.
Right, and the moon's a big place.
Yeah, well,
They
yes,
don't,
but-
not by national bodies. There
Yeah,
can be
but-
safety exclusion zones, but it's
but
supposed to still be free access by the Outer Space Treaty.
Yeah.
Well, free access. But if somebody puts a settlement down or a base down and starts mining it, they're going to say that they own that area, and then they're going to throw out exclusion zones so that they don't get blasted by exhaust plume, which is going to be a bigger area, and then pretty soon the moon's been carved up.
It does seem inevitable, but current legal frameworks kind of exclude it, but it does seem inevitable.
All right, well, let's circle back to the topic, get off politics for a moment. Anybody got anything else that they want to talk about for lunar underground permanent settlements?
We haven't talked a lot. We've talked a lot about lava tubes, but we haven't talked a lot about access to lava tubes.
Yeah, that's a good point. What would you like to say?
Yeah. Maybe one possible way could be like cable car systems to lead into a lava tube. Once you actually have more infrastructure and more development, that's probably when you just dig tunnels down, gently sloping to the lava tube floor from outside of the lava tube.
Right, because most of the lava tubes we've seen, entry points are skylights, right? So you're going to have some way to crane stuff in and out or whatever. Makes things a little more difficult because we've never done anything like that off Earth. So yeah, good point. Anybody else got anything they can think of? All right.
For situations where lava tubes might not be an option for connecting locations on the ground, we should probably explore alternatives like surface tunnels, I suppose.
Or just make our own tunnels, right? I mean, we're pretty good at tunneling. We can figure that out. You can connect up settlements with subsurface tunnels and avoid the surface altogether.
On Earth, we excavate 25 tons per year and person.
Yeah, true. I mean, we know how to tunnel. We just got to figure out how to do it on the moon. It shouldn't be impossible.
How many boring machines can we fit on a Starship?
Is it just me, or like the boring company's boring machine diameter is somewhat similar to the size of the Starship fairing?
Very similar. Yes.
Heard that's deliberate. So
I rest
So what if we outlawed mining the moon and said it could only be used for basic scientific research? Would that solve some of the problem?
It will effectively prevent people from living there.
yeah, I mean, I think if we did that, we'd basically be saying we don't want to go anywhere else, right? Because you kind of need the moon as a gateway to the rest of the solar system if you're going to talk about settlement.
The moon is going to be a way to, NASA has said that the lunar base is going to be the test system for the Mars base.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe the Mars base is sufficiently far away that we don't have to think about how that's going to be divided up politically. But I could foresee somebody saying that we're just going to use the moon for, there's all sorts of astronomical observations that people would like to do from the moon, not have all of the problems with clouds and so forth. I mean, I could see the moon as a science base and get away from some of these other problems of this is my territory and I'm going to defend it and my army is going to be bigger than your army. I mean, I have trouble thinking of transporting anything from the moon that's going to be economically competitive with going out and mining a garbage dump. I mean, we've got so
No,
much metal in our garbage dumps.
you're absolutely right. Right now, there's nothing economically comparable that you can take from the moon and ship to the Earth. But if you think longer term and cislunar space development, where we're actually building orbitals and habitats, then you're going to need the raw materials from the moon because you're not going to ship them from Earth, right? So you're going to need the iron, the aluminum, the titanium, the oxygen. You're going to need all of that if you're going to
Okay,
start
but
building
maybe
on
we can have something more successful than the UN allocate some of these things, and people pay into some charity that offsets their what it is they're taking from the moon. I mean,
Well, you have to have a post-terrestrial government at that point. So you want to think, what would a cosmic republic kind of model of humanity look like?
I think it's
I would
potentially
like all
possible.
that.
It's unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, I would like
Just
all
on-
that, but that assumes that humans are going to start acting reasonable and rational and think long term.
What a ridiculous idea.
Yeah, pretty
If
much.
you have 55 countries working towards building a new city and a new model of civilization on the moon, that could serve as a test bed for our cosmic civilization model. And if we can build a decentralized, self-sustaining,
We'll elect you
self-governing model,
president.
we can appoint that, or we can build that kind of a model in all those 55 countries. But we build it together. We envision it together as the goal, and then apply that model to any country that wants to apply it, including new
And
members beyond those
we could have
55.
Earth peace.
Stuart?
Maybe.
I think that's a brilliant
Stuart,
idea.
you're muted.
It may not be feasible to eliminate all mining on the moon and only have science, but you could certainly put restrictions on it. You could say, okay, here's the resources of the moon, here's how much we're willing to mine, and then you can mine a certain amount. Like mining enough to build your habitat seems like a natural, that would be a natural thing, right? And then you can have lunar habitats for people. But yes, if you want to go and strip mine, a quarter of the moon's surface, maybe that's not a good idea. So I can see that, there's some compromise between no mining and limited, controlled mining.
Well, as soon as you have a habitation, it has to belong to somebody, unless it's an international habitation. So as soon as you are putting up any kind of habitation there, you are claiming a piece of land for your political group.
Yep. Frank?
Just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, James?
Okay, a little explanation here. Yes, we do aim territory in space. Most people take the Outer Space Treaty as very literal, but with the International Space Station, each module belongs to the country that originated that module. And there are legal agreements between countries to allow the astronauts to move from module to module. On the moon, we will see something very similar, that habitats will be considered to be territory of the nation whose flag they fly. There is a requirement that a habitat be registered, just as a ship here on Earth must be registered to a nation. So, and yes, there can be competition.
An agreement that if you have an emergency on one base, that you will be accepted by another base.
Yeah, and that's similar to what we have here on Earth. If you're in the middle of a snowstorm, you can break into another person's house, take refuge in that house so that you do not die. And so you will be forgiven the crime of breaking and entering by the courts. However, any damage you do, you are liable to through civil actions, basically. So you might have to pay for any damage that occurs in the house.
And I have that type of a cabin, and we keep resources. So if somebody needs to break in, there's food for them during the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Frank?
Yes, I got my idea back. I'm echoing a lot of like Robert Zubrin's sentiment about like the primary export of the moon. I think a lot of it is going to be innovation. One areas I think that he has always he overlooked was potentially the opportunity for industrial espionage, as the Chinese are very fond of doing such practices. And I mean, it's like the elephant in the room. I suppose there's going to be plenty of opportunities for everybody to learn all sorts of stuff about like the lunar environment, but mostly what other people are researching about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if something's proprietary, somebody else is going to want it, right? Just kind of human nature. Anybody else have any other ideas or thoughts on the topic? Or apparently any topic at this point. All right. Well, if not, Nicholas, I guess we'll call it.
We'll wrap that up. Yes, it's been a very interesting day, man. Very good presentations and quite heated discussions in this workshop, but a lot of interesting things come up here too.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, good discussion today. Yeah, very good.
Terrific conversation. So what's well, I guess we'll figure it out tomorrow. Like, what are going to be the big things that we'll be spiraling into?
It'll always be something new.
There's always a new tangent, doesn't it?
Yep.
Tomorrow is mining in ISRU, right, Nicholas?
Yes.
Awesome.
All right. Well, everybody have a good day. Thank you for participating.
Thank you for
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Catch you all soon.
Please.
Thank you.
Oh, Nicholas, I wanted to ask you a quick question. The other Swedish city, Uppsala, am I saying that right, or do I say Uppsala?
Uppsala.
Uppsala.
It's a town, yeah.
I see. And so those are the two biggest cities in Sweden, am I right then? So
no, that's Stockholm and Malmö.
Stockholm and Uppsala.
No, Malmö. Uppsala is pretty small.
Malmö. Oh, I see. I see. All right. Okay, good. Thank you. Very interesting. Where's the major university in Sweden? Uppsala?
Uppsala is big on university. It might be. I'm not sure, to be honest. Technical University is Stockholm. Royal Institute.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Very good. Nice to start talking with everybody.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy, Stanley.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. See you tomorrow.
All right. So do a debrief real quick as soon as everybody's off.
I'm just sitting here and looking who is asleep.
Well, you might need to boot them.
No after party.
No after party. Just,
it's bedtime now. It's not time.
We're just gonna figure out tomorrow's plan. See you tomorrow.
Have a great night.
You too.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Well, everybody else here is Moon Society, so
yes.
Well,
that was heated for a while, but yeah, I think that's a good thing actually. People are interested.
Well, I tell you what, next year you should have a political section because apparently politics are the hot issue.
Yes. Maybe 2 or 3 political sessions, so you can choose which one, so you don't fight with the people there.
I didn't see anybody fighting. Everybody, there was different points of view, right?
Yeah.
And I really hope that it comes out the way some of these people want, where there's cooperation and everybody agrees with the rules and obeys it.
Yes.
I'm too much of a pessimist to think that's going to happen.
There will be people breaking the rules. That's the reason to have rules, isn't it?
Well, rules and a way to enforce them, right? So how are you going to enforce them on the moon? You're going to have the UN lunar police? I mean, knows?
Yeah.
That's why I worry about the engineering, right? I leave the politics and the economics to somebody who knows more about it than I do.
Yeah, I kind of cross my fingers and hope that it will be sorted somehow as well.
Yeah, one way or the other, it'll be figured out.
Yeah, and I hope in the process of sorting that there will be some survivors.
Yeah, well, that'd be nice. Well, I'd like to be one of them.
Yeah, yeah. Not sure. I'm probably too old for that. But anyway.
What, you don't want to live in a apocalyptic wasteland and have to eat rat or something? Come on.
No. I wouldn't mind. I've always talked about retiring on the moon, and now I postpone retiring to I still have a
That's
chance.
right. Well, you got an analog now. There's no retiring for you.
Yes, that will make me tired for years. Yes, yes.
All right, man. Well, I'm going to go out and
Yeah,
get on with my day. I think that was a really good day.
yeah.
It was very interesting, and I'm
I'm,
sure tomorrow will be just as cool.
I'm a bit disappointed that Kim didn't stay for the discussion because she left before we start the high
Well, and
seas.
she showed up just for her presentation. You know, she's
Yeah.
busy. That's fine.
Yeah. No, I'm happy. I'm more happy that she came at all, and
Yeah.
I'm disappointed that she didn't stay.
Yeah, no, it would have been interesting to hear her point of view on it, but I'm sure she's got things to do.
Yeah.
Plus, it's Hawaii, so it's already, I don't know, 4 or 5. I don't know what the hour difference is, so it's already late afternoon for Hawaii.
Yeah.
And she probably has a life. It's a Saturday.
True. It is Saturday. Yes. See you
All right,
tomorrow.
man. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm gonna go. Have a good day.
You too. Cheers.
Bye, everyone.